So when it comes to market farming, there's a few tools that can kind of give you a bit of an edge on making your life a lot easier, more efficient. So in this lesson, we're just going to go through the top tools that I use here at our farm. And I just want to let you know that there are many other tools that, depending on your situation, might work better for you. But we just want to show you here what we use at Green Life Farm, just to give you an idea of what roughly your starting cost is going to be, what you're going to need, and how you're going to use it. So I hope you enjoy this. So first of all, we're going to start with what's called the bed prep rake. So all it is just a 30-inch rake. Works great for smoothing out your beds if you're running with a 30-inch bed. But the main thing we use it for here at Green Life Farm is we put these little PVC fingers on, and all they do, you can set them to whatever time you want, and we use that to mark our spacing on the row as well as your spacing within the row. And depending on the crop, they can be closer together, they can be farther apart. We have actually a few more of these PVC fingers as well. So like there's a few examples where we actually run 4 rows on a bed, so we'll add another PVC piece right on here. And we find the nice part about it is you might not always get the perfectly straight row, but it definitely keeps the spacing in between, which is the most important, because when it comes later to weeding your beds, you want to make sure that your plants are very, very evenly spaced. Now, I will mention, when it comes to this, the straighter you can keep your lines, the better, because later when it does come to weeding, you can just go down the rows much quicker with the hose. So here at Green Life Farm, our main tool for weeding is called the stirrup hoe. And it just has a blade straight across here, does really well for cutting the roots, the weeds off right at the root. Now, I will do a little bit of caution. If you get going too fast, or you have somebody that's their first time using it, you can have you might cut off a plant if you're going too quick. So you got to be careful when you're going through your rows. Really pay attention. Now, the one thing I want to mention, when you're using this, because you're going to use it for a lot of hours throughout the season, you want to make sure that when it's on the ground that you're standing straight. You want the back straight. You don't want to be arched over. You don't want to be bent, because you're going to get issues later. You're going to get fatigue in your back. You want to make sure that you're straight, that it's pulling straight, and you're not straining any of your muscles. Now, when it comes to the stirrup hoe, we actually have 3 different sizes. And that's for if we have larger crops like broccoli, there's a wider space in between, so we use a larger hoe, so you're not going up and down as much. Now, if you're using a crop like carrots, where the spacing is much closer, then we use a much smaller stirrup hoe. We have one other stirrup hoe that's slightly shorter than this one, and that's for if we have a really bad issue with weeds, if we came a little late or something, and that one you can get a little bit more of a push on. You can put just a little bit more force. Sometimes you bend just slightly, but you're just able to put more force. The big thing with this is practice makes perfect. The more you do it, the easier it gets, but you'll find a rhythm. So one of the earliest tools that we use is called the flex tine weeder. And all it is these little spokes that flex. They go very easily over your bed, and it pulls out the very small thread stage weeds right underneath the ground, right underneath the surface. So what we like to do is about a week after we transplant a crop, whether it's salad mix, spinach, broccoli, we use it on all of our crops. We'll come through and we'll pull this flex tine weeder right through, take out a lot of those emerging seedlings, take out a lot of the thread stage weeds, and it makes the bed much easier to weed later in the season as the plants start getting larger. So the reason why we do it though a week after we transplant is so those transplants are rooted in well enough that when we run over it with the flex tine weeder, our plants aren't going to come out, just the weeds. And this is for very, very early weeding stage. This is before you're getting the stirrup hoe through. It's the very first defense against your weeding. And so we found that it works quite well. Like I said, we use it on all of our crops. We use it consistently. and we use it, we'll keep it going probably 2 or 3 times throughout the season on that crop, usually within the first 2 to 3 weeks after transplanting. Another one of our main tools that we use here on the farm is the Earthway seeder. And the nice part about the Earthway seeder is actually very relatively cheap for when it comes to starting a farm. And what happens is you put your seeds in the hopper, and there's a seed plate in here, and there's multiple different seed plates depending on the type of seed and the size. So there's a different seed plate for beans as there would be for carrots. And what happens is, as you're pushing this through the ground, right here there's a belt that turns, and it turns the seed plate inside the hopper, and that's what allows it to drop the seeds at the right spacing for that specific plant. The other nice thing about it, it has a chain, so it follows behind and closes the hole in for the seed. So you don't have to go behind, try to make sure you rake over, all that stuff to smooth it out. It'll do that all on its own. Now you're gonna wanna use this in relatively dry soil. If you go in too much wet soil, you get a lot of clumping on the end. And then when it comes to salad mix and carrots, it'll actually pull your seeds back out of the ground. So it's something to be careful of. You want to just watch it, play with it a little bit, tweak it, make sure it's working for you. Another nice thing about this, it actually has a little hook that you can set this for your spacing on the row beside. So if you have something like beans that's only 2 rows per bed, we just set our Earthway seeder on one side, put our little spacing hook down, and we run along the bed, and then you know exactly where your next line is going to be. It's the perfect spacing in between. So for us at Greenlife Farm, it's very cheap tool that's worked very well for us over the years. We haven't had any complaints about it. It's something that I think every market gardener should have starting off, just because it does work well enough for the crops that we use it for. All right, so the greens harvester. This is one of my favorite tools on the farm, but it's similar to the paper pot where it saves you an insane amount of time. So anyone who wants to do salad mix at your farm, which I would very much think you should, salad mix, spinach, we use the greens cut harvester. What it does, it has blades right along the bottom, and I will do one word of caution. Be careful how you carry this. The blade is extremely sharp. What we like to do, we'll throw it over the shoulder and we'll hold it just like that. You're away from the blade. You want to make sure the blade's pointing away from you. So yeah, just a quick word of caution. All it does, hooks up to your drill, and when you use it, it spins, the blade spins, it cuts, and these little fingers here will pull your salad mixer spinach right into the bag. Now, I have used a couple different types of drills, and I would suggest that you buy something like a DeWalt or a slightly more expensive drill. We had kind of a no-name Mastercraft, and it didn't spin it near as fast as it should, and didn't get a nice cut, nice even cut on your bed. You want to make sure you're using one of a better drill, and you'll find that it works way better for you, and you'll get the savings back. Trust me, you'll get a much better cut. The salad mix is going to look great. But the big thing with this that you got to remember is if you want to cut a whole salad mix bed by hand, you're going to spend hours. You're going to have your knife, you're going to have your tote next to you, and it's going to take a long time. This thing really shortens it up. It's I would say it's average when it comes to price point. It's not the cheapest, but it's not the most expensive. But I would highly recommend you buy one of these. It's been very useful. Turns hours of work into minutes. It's very great. So this tool in front of me here, it's called the TerraTech 2-wheel hoe. It has many attachments for the back, which we have tried several and we haven't liked it. However, when it comes to doing your pathways, we really like it because it's a bit more heavy duty than your stirrup hoe. So what we have is basically a larger stirrup hoe blade on the back here, and it has a pretty heavy base here, and this allows you to get through that compacted walkways where you're always trampling back and forth between your beets, your beans, whatever it is, and it just is very good for pushing and taking the big weeds out. Anything that's rooted in deep, anything that's rooted in hard, this thing will be able to take care of it. So we don't really use it for on the beds at all. Every once in a while, if we wanted to clean up a bed, sure, we might. But the main use is the walkways. And you want to make sure that when you're doing your weeding that you keep the walkways clean, because the walkways, if they fill up with grass, that will continually grow into your beds, and you're going to have a much bigger issue later when you can't use something like this to get rid of it. So this is a little bit more on the pricey side, but when it comes to keeping those walkways clean, we found it to be worth it. It's worked for us. We still use it every week, and it's very easy to use. You can stand up straight. It's not extremely heavy, very easy to push. It's smooth. Something that I think you would enjoy very well. Should work well for your farm. It'll cut through. Very good tool. So, the infamous VCS. This is obviously a much larger tool and probably the biggest one-time expense that we had purchased when we started Green Life Farm. And I hate to say it, but I have some really mixed emotions for the BCS. You know, everything, we bought the BCS with several attachments. We had the tiller attachment, we bought the snowblower attachment, we had the rotary plow, the power harrow, and we had the flail mower. And my favorite tool for this, and the one I think works the best, is a flail mower. When it comes to doing cover crops or getting rid of a field, the flail mower will just chop it down. However, here's what I'm going to caution. If you're just starting your farm, this is your first season, I'm going to tell you not to buy the BCS. This was for us, by the time we had all our attachments, I think it was around $21,000 Canadian. We have no other farms in our area. I looked all over for used BCS. I would have much preferred to buy this used, but I had no option. I had to buy it new. And the course that I had at the time, there really wasn't any online courses about farming out at the time. I had a few books about market farming, and they really endorsed the BCS two-wheel tractor. After using it, I do not endorse it at all. I find it extremely heavy, extremely cumbersome. Some of our attachments don't click on and click off as easy as it looks in the YouTube videos. When it comes to tilling ground, the tiller really isn't heavy enough to break new ground. That's the issue. This is made for you know, a 50 by 50 garden, but no one's going to spend 20 grand to do a 50 by 50 garden. That's the thing. I would really caution not to buy the BCS. Since we have it, you've seen it in some of our videos before. We've tried to make the best use of it as we can since we've already purchased it. So we do use it here and there, but it's probably one of our least used tools. And I really just would suggest not buying it. And the great thing for you, that's over $20,000 in savings when you're starting up your farm right away. If you really need your ground broken to start a farm, try to hire it out. See if you can find somebody around who has a tractor and a tiller. Even if it costs you 2 grand to set up your field with that tractor, do it. You still save well over 18 to 20 grand if you're buying a new machine like this. Unfortunately, with the information out at the time, it was the decision we made, and I very much see with hindsight that it was a poor decision. I should have done I guess I should have seen and looked around to see if we could find somebody with a tractor and tiller. It's a decision I made. It's paid off now, so it is what it is. And that's the other thing with business and farming. You're going to make decisions that are poor. You gotta move on. You gotta move on. So we have moved on. We still use this here and there, and we're going to try to make a little bit more use of it with weeding in our greenhouses and doing a few things like that. But don't buy it. Don't start with it. Down the road, if you think you can have a use for it, well, maybe you can try to fit it into a new budget farther down, but not your opening budget of your farm. Do not put this in there. Now, there's one other thing I will mention. If you've got money to burn and you want to buy some sort of mechanical machine that's going to work wonders, buy a small tractor. I know there's lots of market farmers out there that say, oh, don't buy that, don't buy that. Trust me, you'll get way more work out of it. If you ever plan on expanding your market farm, much easier to expand with a tractor, do your own work. and then even the efficiencies of the different weeding attachments you can get for that. So if you have money to burn, get a small tractor. I would avoid using the BCS. I think that's enough said about it. In the end, it's still your decision, but I really think this is a big area you can save on your starting costs. So this concludes the lesson about tools. It was a little longer lesson than the rest of them, but I just wanted to show you what the main things that we use, but also show you that there's some savings that can be done, and you don't have to have everything that we have. Now, I do want to mention Greenlife Farm puts together a budget every year for 1 or 2 new tools. We always want to see if we can make the farm more efficient. So don't be afraid to try something else. If you didn't see it here, but you really want to try it, you got a little bit of cash to burn, absolutely, buy the tool, try it out. We're not limited to exactly the tools we have here. 5 years time from now, we might have a whole new list of tools. The neat thing about this course is that we will update you when we do have new tools or new things that work really well for us. And you know, down the road, you guys can send us messages. You know, we tried this tool, worked fantastic for this. So yeah, trial things out. Really hope this section helped you out, helped you save some money, but also helped you know where to spend it on some of the more important ones. And yeah, have some fun with it.